if you ever wanted to move to Chiang Mai and start a life here long term, keep watching this video. If you're new here, my name is Kat and I have been living in Chiang Mai for 5 years. I uprooted my life in Southern California and have been living here ever since. So if you're not new here, you know I've been MIA for a few months and I wanted to just give a little update and kind of answer some commonly asked questions that I get about life in Chiang Mai and how I started here. And so yeah, just for the update, I went MIA I think maybe 3 months ago. I was traveling in Koh Phangan during that time. I ended up getting sick. I've been trying to figure out a new visa option, which I'll share in another video. But that's kind of what's been going on, just life, nothing major. And now I'm in California actually, visiting family for Christmas. And I'll be here for about a month and then I'm gonna actually go back to Chiang Mai, hopefully on this new visa. So yeah, let's get into some of the commonly asked questions that I get just to kind of kickstart another video here on the channel. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. And it also kind of helps get the word out to other people in the community who may be looking for some tips and advice in their move to Chiang Mai as well. So one of the most commonly asked questions I get is, why did you choose Chiang Mai? And often it's, why did you choose Chiang Mai over Bangkok and these other places, for those of you who have been to Thailand? And for me, I honestly came out on a whim. If you've watched any of my other videos, it was just supposed to be a gap year after I had finished grad school, got my master's degree. And I told myself I just wanted to travel and live outside of the country for a bit. And then within 6 months of being in Chiang Mai, I knew that it was a place that I wanted to live long term. And so I stayed. And I was initially a counselor out here, a family counselor out here in Chiang Mai. And I was doing that for about 2 years. And then COVID hit. And yeah, I was just burnt out and ready for something different. And so then I switched to education visa. So I was on a work permit and work visa for 2 of those years. And then the last 3 years I've been on education visas. And I always get a lot of questions, well, how did you stay on an education visa for so long? It's kind of complicated because I feel like there's a lot of different information and they're constantly changing rules and things like that. So initially I was on an education visa for 2 years, and then midway through the second year I had to come home for some family things to take care of, and so I actually left early. I want to say it was maybe 4 months early before my actual education visa expired. And so when I came back the third year to do the visa, I actually applied when I was still in the States, and they didn't technically count that second year because I had left halfway through, so I never really finished the program. I don't know exactly their reasoning, but I was able to get a third year. So long story short, I can probably share another video about education visas and things like that. But yeah, so that's how I did it, and I've always been in Chiang Mai, and yeah, I've been to Bangkok, I've been to other places in Thailand. And I will preface by, I haven't lived in a city long term, like 6 months at a time, let's say. Chiang Mai is the only place that I've been, for long periods of time. And obviously that's very different than someone just traveling through versus someone who's actually living there. I stayed like a month or 2 at a time in Koh Phangan down south, but other than that, yeah, it's always been traveling. And for me, Bangkok has always just felt too busy. I'm from a big city. I'm from San Diego originally. And yeah, I just don't miss the traffic. I just don't miss the very fast-paced way of life. And that's one of the things that I really liked about Chiang Mai, was that it's very slow pace. Yeah, and I felt like I was really able to focus and like get in a nice routine in Chiang Mai. And that's not to say you can't do that in Bangkok, but it's just a very different feeling. And so yeah, I like to go to Bangkok if I want to go shopping, and I feel like I can only last a few days there at a time just because it's so busy and it's a lot. But yeah, I kind of got lucky with Chiang Mai, I think. Yeah, I came out on a whim and ended up really loving it. That's not the experience for everyone, but that's kind of how it worked for me. Yeah, so I guess I kind of answered 2 in 1 there with how I've been able to stay in Chiang Mai for this long, and then why Chiang Mai at all. Another question that I get asked a lot is how I've been able to manage, being on my own, being away from family, and just life in general. And I guess for me, it's just like anywhere else in the world, you know, like it takes time. I think having a community really helps. I think finding a routine really helps, because I think people, when they hear I live in Thailand, they think I'm just like on vacation on a beach somewhere, drinking coconuts and, you know, living my life. But I have a routine. You know, I go to the gym, I work, I do the same things that you would do in the States, just in Thailand. And so I think having a routine, having a community, whether you have hobbies or things like that, I think can really help. And yeah, honestly, it just takes time. When I was working as a family counselor, it was a lot easier for me to connect with people and meet people. And then when I started working online, it was a little different because, you know, I'm online working at home most of the time or at cafes. And so I really had to put myself out there when I started working online to make connections with people and to socialize. And so, yeah, I think, yeah, having hobbies, finding a community, and yeah, just having a routine. I mean, it wasn't easy. It definitely, you know, it can get lonely sometimes, especially during the holidays. You know, I'm lucky enough to be able to come home this year, but it's not like that every year. You know, sometimes the flight is just a lot. And so every year I'm like, do I want to do this year? But, you know, some people aren't able to go home every year. And so I think just, you know, maintaining connections with people back home too, even that if that's your family and, you know, you go home once a year or you have something to look forward to, I think can really help as well. But yeah, I think viewing it as like, you know, I'm not on a vacation, this is my life now, because like I said earlier, it's very different when you're on vacation and traveling somewhere versus when you're actually living somewhere long term. Like, yeah, without a routine, it's very, very difficult. And if you work from home and you work remotely, that just adds another layer of, complexity to it. So, yeah, that's all I have to say for that one. Another one that I just remembered that people ask a lot is, do I need to know Thai when I move to Thailand? And no, I'll just start by saying no. When I first moved here, it's like the majority of people in Chiang Mai at least, and I know in other parts of Thailand as well, speak enough English to get by. And so you don't necessarily need to know Thai when you first arrive, but I will say if you're planning on living here long term, I think it's definitely something to practice, even if it's just like basic phrases or just common things that people ask, like ordering food at a restaurant or asking someone, how are you? Or asking someone, what's your name? Or just different things like that, I think can be really helpful. And it can also help you get immersed into the culture as well. Because yeah, you're in Thailand, you plan to live there long term. It's important that you, you respect the culture, learn the language, even if it's just a little bit. And yeah, it's not, like I said, you can get by without it, unless you're in some like rural city outside of, you know, Chiang Mai or outside of these really big cities. But yeah, it's definitely possible. Don't stress about it. There's so many language programs that you can join. There's even like meetup groups that you can do to practice Thai with people. There's tutors that you can hire, you know, one-on-one tutoring to help you learn. And if not that, YouTube, podcasts, there's different things that you can use to practice and learn Thai. But like I said, it's not completely necessary when you arrive, but I definitely recommend it if you do plan to live in Thailand long term. And the other one that I also get a lot, but I feel like it's mostly people just maybe they've never been to Thailand before, or even from my friends back home in the States, there's always questions about like healthcare and hospitals and just access to different things. And I think it's similar to what I said before about like, oh, people think I live on Thailand, I'm just live in Thailand and I'm just on vacation. When I have a routine, I have a life, I do all the normal things that you would do in the States. And the same thing with this, like, I think people think I'm living in the middle of nowhere with like no access to clean water, no access to like hospitals and different things like that. And honestly, the healthcare in Chiang Mai is really, really great. I'm in the States now, and I wanted to make a doctor appointment just to get some stuff. And it's just been a nightmare trying to make an appointment, having to wait for weeks. And then, oh, you can only go to certain providers if you're under this insurance. It's just a nightmare. And then in Chiang Mai, you can walk up, no appointment needed, and you're seen within the 30 minutes to an hour, you know? and you walk out after an hour with the medicine, and that's for, I don't know, $100 or less, or whatever it is, depending on what you're going for. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the things that people don't realize, that like healthcare is amazing. Like people view Thailand as this very like rural, middle of nowhere, third world country, but the healthcare is amazing and affordable. The other thing I wanted to say about healthcare was, it's getting dark, so I'm gonna end this video soon. It gets dark at 4:30 here now. It just doesn't make any sense. So I have health insurance through a French company, and I signed up for it actually in Chiang Mai, not in the States, through an agent or a broker. And it's coverage for all of Asia, so other countries in Asia, Europe, and the US, but it covers mostly hospital stays. So anytime like I'm needing to stay at hospital for long periods of time, emergencies, things that require long-term care, because everything else in terms of just pharmacy, visits or checkups or different things like that are generally affordable in Chiang Mai. And so, yeah, it's not necessary for me. I mean, obviously, if you have different health conditions and things like that, that's something to look into. This is not like legal advice at all. But for me, because healthcare is so great and it is so affordable, I'm only needing to get insurance coverage for, more emergencies and like long-term care versus, general doctor visits, checkups, running to the pharmacy because I'm sick and needing some medicine and things like that. And so something else to keep in mind if you're moving to Chiang Mai and you're concerned about that as well. And just other things like grocery stores or malls or, I don't know, Pilates studios, like these random things that we think only exist in the States. And it's no one's fault. It's just, maybe we weren't exposed to things, or maybe we haven't traveled there ourselves, so we don't know. I mean, before I moved to Thailand, I had no idea what I was like getting myself into. So yeah, it's just really interesting now that I've been away for so long. Yeah, I've been living in Thailand for 5 years, almost 6 years. It's going to be 6 years in June, this next June. So yeah, I think, yeah, it's just crazy to think about. And now that I'm back in the States, it's almost like a reverse culture shock. Like everyone's in a rush here, like everyone's all stressed, and I can feel it, and I've been here for a week now, so I'm fine, but yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm not used to normal ways of life in the States. I guess another one, and I'll just end it with this one, is transportation. Because I think people always think, oh, you need to drive a motorbike, because you see those videos on like YouTube or Instagram, whatever, of people driving in motorbikes, on this small island. But it's honestly not necessary. You can get a car in Thailand if you really want. For me, I don't like them because parking is a pain and traffic can be a pain during high seasons, and it's just, yeah, it's not necessary for me, but you can. But yeah, transportation, there's Grab, which is basically like Uber, and you can pay $4 for a ride to, wherever it is that you want to go inside the city, and then a little more if you're going on like, you want to go in the mountains somewhere. And so it's not necessary to drive a motorbike. For me, I enjoy it and I prefer it, but there's other options, like I said, like Grab, or getting your own car. So yeah, I think people get really stressed about it because they're like, oh, I need to like get a motorbike license. And then when they arrive here, they think it's like the first thing you need to do, and it's not really necessary. And there's also driving schools in Chiang Mai. So if that's something you really want to do, you can do that. There's driving schools for cars and also for motorbikes. So the options are there, but I wouldn't stress myself out about it if that's something that you're concerned about moving to Chiang Mai. So I'm going to end the video here. I actually really enjoy doing more Q&A style videos. So if you want to put in the comments just some questions that you have in the next video, I can answer some of those for you all too. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.